Video K6 helps you to place decimals on line. This is quite a simple example where you have a number line going from this end down to this end, and along the way you're given whole numbers. So we have 16 here and we have 17 here, and we have to say exactly what number the letters are pointing at. So in order to decide what the number will be, you have to count the number of spaces between the 16 and the 17. So here we go. So we've got 1 space, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that means there are 10 spaces between 16 and 17, so each one is worth 0.1. So if we start with A is exactly in the middle, so it would be 16.5. If we go back to C, that is 0.1, 0.2 away from 16. You can see us jumping 0.1, 0.2. So that would be 16.2. This one here, B, is closer to the other end, so we can either start counting from 16 upwards, or we could go from 17 backwards. We could say this would be 16.9 and then 16.8. Looking at E over here, we start at 17 and we count forward 17.1, 17.2. And back here for D, we could start at 16 and go backwards 15.9, 15.8. Always check to see if the whole number makes sense. For example, this one here, 17.2. If you ended up with 16 point something, you would know that you've done something wrong. Also, this one here, if you ended up with 16 point something, that can't be true because it comes before 16 on the number line. Moving on to a slightly harder one. Okay, these are tricky because they don't have 10 spaces between the whole numbers. So if we look between 31 and 32, if we count the spaces, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because there are 5 spaces, they're not each worth 0.1, they're worth double that, 0.2, because there's half as many of them. So if we were to say where this arrow is here, we'd say 31.2, 31.4. Looking at this one here, starting at 32, let's count on 0.2, which will give us 32.2. This one here, I haven't actually put an arrow on, that was a bit daft. This is just 33, or 33.0. And this one here, we could go backwards from 34 to give us 33.8. This situation is slightly harder again because we've already got one decimal place in our numbers, 36.2, 36.3. So for this one here, we're going to have 36.2 something. Now it's easier in this instance to put a placeholder in after each of these digits. So if there are 5 spaces, each one adds on an extra 0.02. So if we're going to this one here, it would be 36.2, but then you add another 2 on the end. The next one would be 36.24, 36.26, 36.28, then we go to 36.3 or 36.30, 36.32, so this one would be 36.34. Moving up to this one here, I'm going to go from this number because it makes it slightly easier to understand. So one jump would be 36.42, then 36.44, 36.46, 36.48. Don't be afraid to fill in all of the numbers in between where all of my red arrows are, if it helps you just to make sure that you're getting the right number. So 5 spaces, each one is worth 0.02. Now let's move on to another tricky one. Initially you think there are 5 spaces, but if you count carefully you'll notice there's only 4. So we've got jump 1, jump 2, jump 3, jump 4. So it doesn't go up in 0.2s. it's going to go up in 0.25s because it's a quarter of a whole number for each jump. Now, let's see, if we start with this one here, it's going to be 18 point, and a quarter is equivalent to 25. This one here would be a quarter less than 20, so it would be 19.75. This one here is 21, add on another quarter, so it's 21.25. And this one here, this is exactly halfway between 17 and 18, so it could be 17.5, and it's optional whether you put that 0 on the end or not. Quite a tricky concept. The most important thing on any number line is to count the number of spaces between each of the whole numbers or each of the numbers that are given to you as indicators. Make sure you count the spaces and not these little lines. You've got to count the spaces.